Hello, and welcome back to the Burn Pancakes podcast. I am your host, Katie Fensky, and I remind moms that everyone burns their first pancake. This podcast is dedicated to the normalization of the messy, imperfect, and sometimes slightly unhinged parts of motherhood. So I am so happy to have you here. Now, today I want to talk about something that almost every mom experiences, but very few will stop and admit or even say it out loud, and that is intrusive thoughts. Now, if you're already feeling a bit uncomfortable or thinking, oh no, is this going to be a dark, stressful episode? Take a breath because in this episode, it is meant to bring kind of relief and not fear. I intend to bring some normalcy to the topic of intrusive thoughts, and that isn't really something intrusive thoughts aren't really something that we talk about. So bringing it to the light and sharing kind of reasons behind why we have them, I'm hoping to relieve some of your stress. If you've ever had a random thought pop into your head and you immediately thought, why would I think that? What is wrong with me? I want you to know right now you are not alone and you're also not a bad mom for thinking these things. So let's start by just getting clear on what we're talking about today. Intrusive thoughts are unwanted, involuntary thoughts or images that pop into your head out of nowhere. They're often scary, violent, or completely opposite of who you are as a person. They are not things that you want to do, and they are not your intuition, and they are not a sign that something bad is going to happen. Think of them kind of like mental spam. Your brain just throws them out there, and let's be honest that motherhood can make this happen a lot more often than prior to becoming moms. So, before we talk about how they show up, I kind of want to explain the reasons behind why they even exist, because I think this is the part that can take the fear level down. When I started researching, like, oh my God, why as moms do we think these things? Knowing the reason why we have these thoughts actually helped me to kind of find some peace. So, our brains are not designed to make us calm and relaxed all the time. They're actually designed to keep us alive. So, this goes way, way back to our caveman days where, you know, our survival of not getting attacked by a lion was based on our brains keeping us alive and knowing, the dangers around us. When you become a mom, your brain and nervous system shifts into protection mode. Your body is suddenly responsible for keeping another human safe, and your brain starts scanning for potential dangers constantly. Intrusive thoughts are basically your brain saying, what's the worst thing that could happen here, and how can I prevent it? Now, in modern day times, this just sounds outrageous. Why would our brains freak us out like this? But biologically speaking, this is what kept our ancestors alive. And it makes sense that we can thank our brains for overreacting a lot. The problem is your brain isn't very subtle about what it's thinking. Instead of just gently flagging possible risks, it sometimes throws out the most extreme, terrifying scenario imaginable. And you're thinking in your head, why am I thinking these thoughts? Now, this is especially common when, okay, listen up, moms. It's common when you're sleep deprived, you're feeling overwhelmed, you care deeply about the outcome of something, your kids, and you're in a new or uncertain stage. So, all of those can sum up motherhood perfectly. No wonder our brains are on overload when we're moms. Your nervous system is already activated, so your brain fills in the gaps with worst case scenarios and thoughts. Here's the important thing to know. Intrusive thoughts are not a sign that you want something bad to happen. They're actually a sign that your brain is trying, maybe a little too aggressively, but it's trying to protect what matters most to you. Think of it like an overprotective smoke alarm. It's not going off because there is actually a fire in the house. It's going off because someone burnt some toast. Is it annoying? Yes. Is there actual danger? No. So, understanding this can help us respond more with curiosity about these thoughts than panic mode. So, let me just give you an example of some thoughts that can show up for moms in their minds at different stages of motherhood. What's interesting is that intrusive thoughts change depending on the stage you're in, but the panic you feel can be the same. So if you are a new mom and you have a baby, this is prime time for intrusive thoughts. Clearly, you are sleep deprived, you're overstimulated, this is a new situation for you. All of these things make your brains want to protect you even more. So you might be holding your newborn and suddenly think, what if I drop my baby? Or what if I fall asleep and something bad happens? Or what if I accidentally hurt my baby while I'm walking him through the hallway? And then immediately your heart starts racing and you think, I should never be left alone with my baby. Like it spirals. So here's what I want you to hear. The reason these thoughts feel so disturbing is because they go against everything you feel as a mom. Your brain is scanning for danger, not a desire of something that you want to happen, but what could happen. Now, if you're a mom of toddlers or little kids, your child's on the move now, which could feel more chaotic, more stressful. Intrusive thoughts at this stage often sound like, what if they run into the street? And then you imagine what would happen, and then having to call the paramedics, and what are the neighbors going to think? Or what if I look away for 1 second and my child falls off the couch? Or what if I lose them in public? Like those thoughts have gone through my head a million times when I'm at the store with my kids. This is when moms can start hovering more or replaying scenarios in their head and constantly feel on edge. This is a reminder, this is not your intuition. This is just anxiety mixed with responsibility and your brain telling you to keep your kids safe. Now, moms of school age kids, as kids get older, intrusive thoughts become more emotional. You might think, at school, what if my kid's being bullied and I don't know about it? Or what if I'm messing them up forever? I clearly have thought that. I have thought the way my kids are acting, how are they ever going to become adults and function in society? What if I lose my patience too many times and then I am like traumatizing my kids? These thoughts usually show up at night when the house is quiet and your brain is finally like settling down and it's room for it to spiral. Moms of teens, intrusive thoughts don't magically disappear as your kids grow up. They will evolve, and you may start thinking, what if they make a bad or dangerous choice? What if I didn't prepare them enough or train them for situations that they might be in? What if they start to hate me? This stage comes with less control, and that can make intrusive thoughts feel louder than ever. Now, here are some things not to do when an intrusive thought pops into your head. What most of us do and what could not happen. So, first, you don't want to panic and assume that the thought means that something like is what you want. It's something about you. Second thing is don't try and solve the thought or shove it away and fight it. Number three, don't spiral into what if this is a sign or a bad omen that something is actually going to happen. So, literally yesterday, this happened to me. My boys got some dirt bikes for Christmas. And I'm not going to lie, they have made my anxiety go through the roof because they are faster than I thought they'd be. And despite all these safety warnings I'm giving my kids, they still are not following every rule I've said, like stop before you go into the street. I like see them out the window, just like go in the street without looking. And I'm like, there are cars coming by. Um, so the other day, my husband was going to take them on a ride, like down a trail to a park. And as they were leaving, I heard Maverick go, he said something like, vroom, vroom, and away. And in my head, this thought literally came into my head. What if something happens to him and he gets like hurt on his bike or killed? And that's the last thing I hear from him. And I'll always remember his last words. And I literally am like, why am I thinking this? Why am I like planning his death? And then I thought, oh my God, what if this is an omen? What if this is a sign? This is it. So here's what you need to do when those thoughts come into your head so that you don't spiral and they get worse and get stronger. So, what to do? First up is just name it. Simply say to yourself, this is just an intrusive thought. It is not my thought. It is not a sign. It is just a thought that popped into my head. So when I'm sitting there on the couch and I overheard him say that, I should just go, Katie, this is just an intrusive thought. It is not telling me that this is going to happen in the future. Step 2 is just don't engage. You don't need to analyze it. You don't need to prove it wrong. You don't need to figure out why you thought that thought. You just let it pass. Step 3, and this is what helps you let it pass, is you bring yourself into the present. So take a deep breath, put your feet on the floor, and just name 3 things that you can see. This is a way of getting your brain out of that spiral mode. Remember, your body is safe and your brain is just there to protect you. And then step 4 is just normalize it. Intrusive thoughts can be extremely common, especially for moms. So having them does not mean you're broken and you're dangerous or you're failing. It's just you're a mom and you're trying to protect your family. Now, in some cases, intrusive thoughts can be constant or overwhelming or impaired with like intense anxiety. This is very common for new moms, especially with all your hormones going and your lack of sleep. This could be a sign to reach out to professional support. Therapy, especially with someone familiar with postpartum anxiety or OCD can be very helpful. Getting help is not weakness, it is care. And I do really believe that seeking help, professional help, has become more normalized. And I think that is great. I think between COVID and this new generation of kids that are normalizing, seeking professional help and counseling has been a good thing for moms in particular, too. So, if this episode made you think, oh my God, it's just like me. This is what I'm having. These are the thoughts I'm having. I am so glad you heard this because just putting this out there and putting a name to those thoughts and a reason why I'm getting them has helped me feel a little bit better. Motherhood definitely puts our brains on high alert. Sometimes they overreact, but that doesn't mean we are bad moms. And it also doesn't mean that something bad is going to happen. In fact, the very reason your thoughts bother you is because you care so deeply about your kids and your family. You are doing better than you think. Now, if this episode resonated with you, please send it to another mom friend who you think needs to hear this. And if you haven't already, leave a review so more moms can find this show. And until next week's Momversation, try and control, try and appease those intrusive thoughts, and remember that everyone burns their first pancake, so just keep looking.